everyone, I'm Tiffany from Cards with Tiffany, and welcome to our first video in the Workshop Your Way Father's Day card making kit. I have put together 4 different cards from the kit, and I'm going to be sharing them with you over the next 4 videos. So here's the first card we're going to be making. It's a Father's Day card. Very similar to the one that is featured in the kit. I just gave it a little bit of twist of what I like. So we're going to be featuring the black and white dots, some of our whisper twine, and I did some embossing as well, and you can opt to do that or not. If I pull it up here closer, I don't know if you can see, the Happy and the Father's Day are embossed. I don't know if you can see how that's shiny, and the antlers are not. So if you choose to do the embossing or not, that is up to you. And of course, we got some doodling. Now, if you're looking for any of the measurements, any of the additional supplies that we are using here, if you head onto my website, www.cardswithtiffany.weebly.com, I will have a tab at the top called WYW, and in there you will be able to get the downloadable and printable PDF with all the measurements, the cutting guide, and the materials used for the next 4 cards. So let's get started. So we're going to first start with our white daisy cardstock. And we're going to start with, of course, all of our stamping and our embossing. So we're going to be starting with our stamping. So we're going to need our black ink. Let's get that open. We're also going to be needing our Lagoon. And as well, we're going to need our Versamark. And if you haven't embossed before, you're going to need either Versamark ink and your color stamp pads, or you can use the pigment without the Versamark. Either one will work. So we have that as well. You're also going to need your clear embossing powder. And get that open and ready. I also have a piece of scrap that I'm going to bring in. And I'm first going to start by taking my, it's called an anti-static bag. I just got it from a craft store. I'm just going to rub it over it, and that's to help prevent the powder from sticking on the paper where the ink is not. So I rub that over, and first we're going to take our Happy from the stamp set, and I always like to lay my stamp down and then pick it up like so. So we're first going to ink that in our Versamark, get that very sticky, and of course when we stamp this down, the Versamark will kind of sit on top and the color will sit on the bottom, and that's how this whole process works. So then I'm going to take it into my Lagoon, get it inked up very well as well. If you don't, the color won't be as vibrant once you emboss it. So that's the idea. I got it all nice. And now I'm going to get that into the middle of my paper as straight as I can. Push it down nice and well. And that will stay sticky for a bit, like not super long, but long enough for me to take my Happy Father's Day, or sorry, we got the Father's Day, ink that up in our Versamark, and we're going to do this one in the black. And I'm going to center that right below it. Push it down nice and well. And there we are. And now I'm just going to take my powder and just pour it all over. And I'm doing it over the scrap paper just so that it's easier to get it back into the jar so we don't waste any. So I'm just going to set that aside for 2 seconds while we do a little bit of cleanup here. So I'm just going to pour this back in. And of course put the lids on all my inks so that nothing dries out. And the ink on my powder. Now we will need the black again to stamp the antlers, so I am not going to put that too far. And now I'm going to bring in my piece of paper, and I'm going to bring in my heat tool. Now it's plugged in this side, so I'm going to do it this way so that you can see it. So turn it on. Oops. There. So I got it turned on. I'm going to bring it in kind of on an angle. Make sure you're not hitting it at your hands because it is super hot. And you're going to be able to watch the color turn. I'm going to get it in there at an angle. And you can see that it is melting. I'm just going to pick it up so that my fingers Now what I like to do is once I get everything melted, and you should be able to see, should look vibrant and kind of get a shot. I like to hit it underneath just to kind of help with the distortion. So there. And you can kind of see that it's kind of not straight no more. It's got a little bit of a distortion too, but that's all right once we get it glued down. So once you have it heat embossed, don't touch it right away. It's still going to be a little warm and you can smear it. So we're going to next stamp our antlers. So I'm going to bring in my antlers. I'm dropping things over here. And pick those up. And those are done in the black as well. And those go right above the happy. You want it kind of above the P because the P is kind of in the middle. So I'm going to line that up just like so, straight down. And there we are. So now that we have all of our stamping done, we're going to finish this top panel before we start gluing it all together. So I'm taking my journaling pen and I'm just going to do my straight lines, well, not really straight, but as straight as I can along the bottom and on all the sides, connecting them at the corners. Now this isn't supposed to look straight at any means. I just go across and just connect them. Some of them are closer than others. It's kind of to give it a frame, making kind of look like there's a layer that's not actually there. So there, once we have that done, we are now going to take our lagoon piece and we're going to adhere this on top of that. So with this and where it has been embossed, I'm going to make sure to really get adhesive, and you can use the adhesive of your choice. I've done it with liquid glue and with the double-sided rolling tape, and I like the rolling tape better. So I do it on all four sides, and I actually make an X in the middle as well, just because that's where we did emboss it, and some of the distortion will be mostly there. So make sure you get this the correct way, and we're going to go and stick that in the middle. So it's kind of got, it's only gonna, should only, of course, there we go. It only should have a frame on the top and on the bottom and not along the sides. Kind of push it down there, and it looks like my piece of white is just a tad bit longer than the lagoon, so I'm just gonna take my scissors and just trim that off. There we are. And so then from there we're going to flip that over and we're going to adhere that to our pattern paper. And once again I'm going to just use my double-sided rolling tape. But once again, you can use what you find works best for you. And once again, I'm just going to do a line down the middle there. Stick in my ends. And we're just going to, and once again, we're going to see a border on the top and the bottom, but not the sides. So there. Next, we're going to take our Whisper White twine, not Whisper White, sorry. Yes, our Whisper twine. And we're going to kind of put it around the bottom here, around all three layers. And we're going to tie a knot kind of off to the side. Will be your left side. Right now it looks like the right because it's upside down. I just find it easier to tie. And just tie that into a knot. Stick my finger down there just to keep it tight. You don't want to pull it too tight that it bows in the middle, but tight enough that it's not going to, you know, hold it up, it's not going to fall off. Sometimes it helps when you have a friend's finger. There we are. And I think that's perfect. I'm going to bring in my scissors and I'm just going to trim it off just so that there's a little sticking off both ends. And now what we're going to do is we're going to peel the ends of this kind of, we're going to fray them. I like the look of that. If you don't, you can just keep it. I just find it kind of like a bow. It fills it out a bit more. So I just didn't like the bow on this card. So there. So all we got to do now is we're going to take our black dots and we're going to take one large one and we're going to stick it down over the black line. We're going to take a medium-sized one and put it off to the side. A tiny one kind of up a little but closer to the S. Another medium size kind of off from the antlers. And another small one that's kind of up on the black line as well. And you want to make sure you just give those a really good push down to make sure they're going to stay. So all we got to do is bring in our card bases that are provided in the kit. So I have my card base here and I just folded it. Make sure you creased it really well. Make sure you get your card open the correct way. And I'm going to actually use liquid glue where we have everything already on top. So just get some liquid glue around the edges. You don't need too much with the liquid glue. And I'm also going to put a little over the twine just to help keep it down. And then we're going to stick that. And this we want to have a little white border. So with the liquid glue, it actually gives us time to, we can move it around to make sure it's centered where we want it. And a nice push down. And it does take a few seconds for it to dry, so I like to just make sure I'm really pushing, especially around where the twine is, because that will make it pop up. And there we are. We have our first card done from the series. I hope you enjoyed making this card with me. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss the upcoming videos of this series, and we'll see you next time. Happy card making!